Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to do your handover video on this IH Oregon R. So it's based on the 2006, and if we start under the bonnet here, on the left hand side we've got the engine battery. Little fuse here just to keep dry in this bag by the looks of it, probably to do with the split charging system of the vehicle. Another one just there in a waterproof point just there as well. So the next reservoirs, we've got the brake fluid just here in this reservoir at the top, attached to the servo at the back. You've got the power steering fluid reservoir here at the front as well. You can see just inside there the level is in the perfect position. Engine oil gets topped up through this yellow filling point at the top of the engine, and your engine oil dipstick is the yellow one here at the bottom. You've then got a couple of fuses and relays behind this little cover here. It's just a pair of 10mm bolts and nuts to take these off. The engine coolant is in this reservoir over here on the right hand side. You've got more fuses and relays in this box just here at the front. You've got the air filter inside this circular box over on the right hand side. As you can see there, it sucks the air in that way, and you've got your washer fluid reservoir here at the front right hand side. You then got on the near side front, you've got the diesel filling point, so you will need the ignition key to get that open. Inside the passenger door, you've got not really much to sort of point out, if I'm honest. You've got a big bunch of fuses and relays behind this little cover here. You have got another one on the driver's side as well, exactly the same. You can probably see there I have fitted the reversing camera, and well, I'll run you through that in a minute, but that's the Wolfox reversing camera and dash cam as well, so it's sort of 2-in-1. So the cab in this particular vehicle is one of the highest specs that you can get. So you've got the airbag over here on this side, you've got the air conditioning in the cab, and you've got the cruise control, which is functioned from the steering wheel. So when these cabs are being built, this is, you know, sort of unheard of, if you like, especially for a right-hand drive vehicle. So IH were always kind of good with making the highest spec vehicles they could. So I'll get into the inside in just a minute, but I'll go around the outside first. We've got your full-size Omnistore wind-out awning with the rail on it there. That piece of sort of metal on the outside of it is the rail for a drive-away awning, if you wanted to fit one of those. Down underneath, we've got both of your drain-off points. So the red one, well, this black one over here on the right is the waste. We have got a new handle turning up for that soon because that has broken. And we've got the blue one to the left of that, which is the fresh water. And so if you wanted to drain out either of your fresh or waste tanks, that's where you go to for that. Really good sized entry step just here, which you can close and open from this little point just here. So that's just from that button just there. And also, just before I forget, the leisure battery, you've actually got two. So you've got one leisure battery over here underneath the driver's seat, and another one here underneath the passenger seat. The easiest way to get to these batteries is to just take the seats off. It's not a big job to take the seats off. But yeah, so you have had a new leisure battery fitted, because the old one was playing up a little bit. So the bodywork on this vehicle is very, very nice. Not much to pick up on whatsoever, to be honest. All the windows are in good nick. The windows are renowned for being quite difficult to get a hold of, so it's always nice to see that they're in good condition. So around the back, the IH motorhomes were sort of renowned for doing this, where they would kind of make their own fiberglass rear end, if you like. So you've got the number plate section up a lot higher, and the whole back end of the vehicle kind of reshaped, if you like. And the beauty of that is that you get to kind of have the space at the back for the LPG locker, and you can see there they've used it for the toilet cassette locker there as well. So a really clever way of sort of utilising the extra space that you wouldn't normally be able to do. So the reversing camera that I have fitted to go with that kit is just up there, quite nice and small, so it doesn't sort of draw attention to itself too much. Obviously black there as well, so it's not kind of obtrusive at all. So that is where that's positioned, and that is adjustable on the the sort of control panel inside. It doesn't actually move the camera itself, but I think because it's such a wide angle lens, you do actually have the ability to move the camera sort of up and down so you can see further back. So you have got the scooter rack here, which is why it is helpful to have the adjustable camera lens, which I'll, again, like I said, I'll show you when we get inside, but yeah, it's really helpful. So the gas locker inside here, we've got on the left hand side, we've got your regulator, and the pigtail hose is this one that comes down here. So to turn the bottle on, you go anti-clockwise round to the left, and clockwise round to the right turns it off. You need to make sure that you turn these bottles off before you start driving. That's really important. The last thing you want is pressurized gas coming out if you do have a crash. Obviously we don't want that to happen, but this is the last thing you want if you do. So make sure you switch that off before you start driving. You've then got this lower locker here at the back below the bike rack. Tons of storage. This does go down through there a fair way, and a little bit of space just there, probably for putting your toilet fluids in and things like that. So the toilet cassette, this is a Thetford toilet cassette. Doesn't really get much easier than this really. You've got the flush fluid that goes in here. Now this is your pink fluid usually, and you do need to pre-mix this pink fluid before you top it up. You've also got this little gauge here, which tells you the level of the water. Now these can get a little bit dirty, so don't worry about that. But if you just keep your eye on the level of the water inside of it, so at the moment it's a little bit low really. Yeah, I can top that up after the video. But yeah, if you see the levels just here, really you want it to be about in the middle. But there you go, so that's your flush fluid. You've then got the actual toilet cassette itself, so you lift up on the little green tab here and then you can pull the entire thing out. Once you've got it out, all you need to know really is that you empty it out from here, and whilst you're emptying it out you should be holding down the little green button that's at the very back. Once you've done that, top it up with a little bit of your blue fluid, swish it around and put it back in like it is now, and that's ready to use again straight after. So really is nice and simple. They're all the same really nowadays generally. So yeah, toilet cassette. So onto the offside now. Same again for the bodywork. I can't really fault it in any way. The back of the vehicle has obviously been sprayed in the exact same nice sort of bluey grey colour. Just before I carry on this offside, the paint colour on this one under the bonnet there, 691A. So if you ever needed any touch-up paint or anything like that, it's 691. So that's, as I say, that's the kind of like bluey grey colour that you can see here. But yeah, I mean this is essentially how the vehicle came into us. I mean, we've given it a little clean up, but you know, somebody has clearly loved this vehicle and looked after it well. So having a look at the bodywork like that is always a nice thing to do, because you can see sort of how someone's looked after it. So rest of the vehicle, so we've got nice bathroom. Oh no, sorry, this is the kitchen window here. Again, you've got no cracks or scratches on that window at all. Same goes for this one just here, all in really, really good condition. So we've got the hookup point just here. So if you do have access to a hookup cable, I would always recommend having it plugged in as often as you can. Having the hookup cable plugged in is really helpful, because it means that you don't have to worry about your leisure battery voltage. It means that you can just use as much power as you like all the time, and it won't sort of drain your leisure battery out and things like that. We've then got the boiler vent just here. So if you have got the boiler lit up on gas, which I do at the moment, you will be able to feel warm air coming out through either side of the top of this vent, and you can actually see there a little bit of condensation building up. above that as well, because it's working really nicely. The little cover just there that I've taken off is just essentially a winter cover for the boiler. It's just nice that you've got that with it. A lot of the time these will get lost over the years. So yeah, lots of condensation building up, which is what this drip is. Don't worry about that, that's quite normal. But there you go, especially on a sort of colder day like this. Quite misty out today as well. So that's your boiler just there, and the last bit to show you on the outside is this, which is your freshwater filling point. So access to that, nice and easy just there. That's where you fill up your fresh water. And the only thing I will say is that if you can get yourself, I say this to every customer, get yourself some silicone lubricant. Now, it doesn't have to be expensive stuff, it can be the cheapest stuff you can find. Silicone spray lubricant is really helpful to have, because these rubber seals, so this one here, and there's one on the toilet cassette as well, if you can spray them every now and again, it will save you a lot of hassle in the future, because it will stop it from drying up basically, and it will keep it nice and sort of it will stop it from leaking essentially. But there you go. All right, so in the cab, as I briefly mentioned outside, the spec in this particular cab is, well, I mean, I don't know if there's much else that you can sort of get on these particular cabs really. The reversing camera and forward facing camera is a really nice little kit. It was a little bit sort of different for me to fit. I don't tend to fit these particular ones. We normally use park safe equipment, but it was interesting to sort of get to know how these ones work. So I have wired it up to an ignition live feed, so this will not work until you put the ignition on with the key, and the reason that we do that is so that you can't drain the engine battery out. So this kit here will not be drawing any power until you turn the ignition on, which is obviously what you want. So if I turn the ignition on quickly, should spring to life. And we can see straight away there it's going to be showing us the forward facing camera. So the forward facing camera, you've got like a little SD card in here, and you can see there it started recording at the top. So this sort of recording that I've just done here will be available to look at after. You can pause and start the recording just there as well. But if I just pop it into reverse, it should then, there you go, show us the rear view camera as well, which, as I said, you can actually move your screen there. So I think it's really cool, actually, to be fair. You can get a nice big wide angle lens like that, or you can have it sort of zoomed in so that you can see wherever you want to see. So that's up to you. If you want to have it like that, I mean, the screen, it kind of makes it a lot smaller like that, so it is a bit more difficult to see. So if I was you, I'd probably leave it sort of just like that, so you can see there just the back of that bike rack there, which is in line with the back of the scooter rack. So if you can sort of see how close you are to that, you know, you're just sort of good to go. So that's when you're reversing. When you pop it out of reverse, because I've wired it up to the reversing light, it will switch back over automatically to the forward facing screen. So you can also go through and adjust various bits and pieces. You can, yeah, do all sorts, but that's kind of in the future if you want to go through all that sort of stuff. And as I said, when I turn the ignition off, the screen turns itself off. All right, so just thought I'd show you that so you can see that it won't be draining out any power. And I've tried to keep the cabling as neat as I could over the top just there. Cable comes through inside the sort of ceiling and stuff like that, so you can't, it's all hidden. So that's the reversing camera and the dash cam. So that's that. Right, you've got your hazard warning lights from the middle just here, single DIN Pioneer head unit up the top here. We always tend to pop these out when we're not using them, because these can draw a little bit of power if they're left plugged in, even if they're switched off. You've got the air conditioning switch, which is a nice factory extra on here, down the bottom right hand side, and obviously all of your heater controls just there. You've got the lights and indicators from the left hand side, washers and wipers on the right. You've then got, as I said earlier on, you've got the cruise control function on this one. So the way you use that is you've got on and off over here on the right hand side, and then you've got resume or up and down speed. So you can basically adjust from the left hand side what you want the cruise control to do and turn it on and off from the right. You've then got your electric adjusting mirrors from here and your electric windows. So if I just jump out quickly, the last thing I'm going to show you is the fact that you've got the bonnet release handle just there, steering column adjustment just there. You then also got the OBD code reader socket just there behind this little cover that I've just popped off. And there you go. So, sorry about all the noise. So I'm just going to jump inside now and show you what we've got going on inside the van. Okay, so inside the vehicle, I have got a few bits and pieces up and kind of pushed over to one side, so please ignore that for the minute. It's just so that I can show you what we've got going on down here. So the first thing I'm going to run you through is the control panel. Now these PC200 control panels are probably the most simple ones you can get. Nice and reliable, nothing kind of, I think this has been redone by Applejack or something to sort of suit this particular vehicle. But so what I'm going to do is turn the entire thing off. So straight away, once I've done that, we'll just point out that your boiler will turn itself off if you've got the boiler lit up. Okay, so turning this off will turn off the power for that. So turning the control panel on comes up with your time. Now this is incorrect at the moment, but you can go through, if you press and hold on this, I think it comes up, there you go. You can adjust the time from here. It's probably 10 something. Anyway, go through and do that at a later date. So that's just by pressing and holding on this top left hand button and then adjusting it from here. So you've then got below that, we've got your battery voltages. So this is the first one here is your leisure battery voltage, 12 volts, that's absolutely fine. And then engine battery voltage, 12.6, that's very, very good. You've then got the bottom one here, so that's your fresh water level. And that just basically gives you an idea of how much fresh water you've got in the tank. So if you turned your pump on one day and couldn't get any water coming through the tap, have a little look here, make sure you've got some water in the fresh tank, and then there's other things you need to check as well, but I'll run you through that in just a minute. So these are your levels basically on the left hand side. On and off switch on, you've then got the internal lights switch. Okay, so that will then give you access to using any of the internal lights. They'll sort of spring to life and have power going to them. If there's an external light or an awning light, that is the switch there for it there. And then the last one here is your water pump switch. So once you've turned the water pump switch on, the first thing you're going to want to do is just do what I'm going to do now. Okay, so water pump goes on. We've got water in the tank, so we've got 36% in the tank, so I know there's water there. And then we're going to come over to the sink, and in doing what I'm going to do in a second, we're basically proving to ourselves that the boiler has water inside of it and we're sort of up to pressure. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it to the right and get some cold water coming through here. So we've got good pressure there. There's no sort of coughing and spluttering. It's all coming through nicely. And then we'll turn it to the hot side. Same goes for the hot. Okay, so I'll turn that off and make sure that I hear the pump turn itself off, which it has done just there. Okay, so doing what I've just done there might not seem like very much, but what it does is it proves to you that your system is completely pressurized. If you turn the pump on and drew the hot water side of the tap and nothing comes through the tap, it means that your boiler isn't quite full yet and you're not up to pressure. If the water comes through like it just did there, it means that everything's pressurized, and when you turn that off, if the pump turns itself off like it did, everything's good. All right, and the reason you have to make sure that everything's pressurized is that, well, two things really. If you have the pump on and nothing's pressurized, the pump will turn itself on and off, on and off, on and off to purge itself up to pressure. So because you've got this specific type of pump, it works on pressure and it cannot physically turn itself off until it gets to its certain pressure. All right, so if, for example, the boiler isn't full of water, it cannot get to that pressure and it will never ever turn off. So that's really important to just do what I did there, turn the pump on there and make sure you've got good pressure at hot and cold. Once you've done that, turn it off, forget about it. It's all up to pressure. You can just do what you like then. Okay, so that's the control panel. I'm just going to leave everything on for the minute so I can show you everything working inside. So try not to sort of chew your ear off about it, but the reason that you do that, the reason that you have to make sure the boiler's full, if you lit the boiler up to try and heat the water up and there was no water inside the boiler, it's going to overheat and you're essentially going to be boiling up nothing, and you know that could obviously cause a fire or something like that. So it's just really important that you make sure the boiler's full of water by doing what I've just done there before you start trying to light it up. So the boiler itself has got a drain off point, so that's why I've taken up this cushion. So taking off this little cover gives you access to this on the right hand side, which is the heater, and this on the left hand side, which is the boiler. The little yellow tab down here, which is currently laying down flat, is the boiler drain off point. All right, so if that's laying down flat like it is now, then the boiler is completely closed off and any water that you put to it by doing what you've just done there at the tap will stay inside. If you lift up that tab and it's facing vertical, it's facing upright towards you, any water that's inside that boiler will drain out onto the floor. All right, so that's the idea behind that drain off point. Now, the reason that you have a drain off point, every decent motorhome will have one. The reason that you have it is that if it comes up to winter time and you're not going to be using the vehicle and you're going to sort of leave it in storage or whatever, you need to make sure that you drain that boiler out. If the boiler freezes up inside, you kind of, you're going to have to buy a new boiler basically, because it will start to sort of expand all the pipe work inside of it and it will just be a real mess. So you need to make sure that you drain that out for the winter time, basically, when you're not using it. Obviously, if you are using the vehicle during the winter time, you don't have to do that because you're going to be in here and it's going to be warm, so it shouldn't freeze. But that's why that's there. It's basically just to stop the boiler from freezing up in the winter time. So that's why that's down there. So that's why you have to make sure that the pressure, the pressure's good, just in case you've had the boiler drained out. Once you've done all that, you can then go ahead and use the boiler or the heating, however you like. You can use the heater. That's kind of separate, to be honest. I don't know why I said heater. You can use the heater at any time. You don't have to make sure the boiler's full or anything. It's completely separate. So first thing I'm going to show you is going to be the heater. So the heater is the dial in the middle. All right, this one here that says Trumatic E. All right, so the Trumatic E is basically just a small Truma branded blown air heater. So any of the little circular vents that might be dotted around, where are we? There's the little vents, that one there. There'll probably be one in the bathroom as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, over there. So it's quite a small vehicle, it doesn't need many vents, but this is how you use the boiler. So I'm going to chuck this cushion back down so I can climb on there. Okay, so the Trumatic E is super easy to use. So if you go up on this dial here, you've got fan only. Okay, so that would just basically just blow around cool air. Back down to the middle, turns it off. Down 1 or down 2 is how you're actually going to get your heating to work, and that's basically just small flame or big flame. All right, the dial in the middle is Are you in a big rush to get your heating working? If you are, turn it right up. If you're not, turn it down a little bit. It's just basically how powerful it runs. So if you want to use the heating, basically just switch it down to the bottom one there. And then after about sort of 10-15 minutes or so, you'll have hot air pumping out through the vent down there and the one in the bathroom. So because it's quite a small vehicle, these little Trumatic heaters are super efficient. It will get this vehicle warm in no time at all. And you know, it's kind of the perfect heater for this size of vehicle in my opinion. So that's why they've fitted it in this one. So the other thing you've got is the boiler, as I said. So you've got two ways of using this boiler in this particular vehicle. So you can use it on gas on this top dial here, or you can use it on electric if you're hooked up on the mains on this little switch down here. So assuming that you're hooked up on the mains and you want to use the mains power to heat the water up, turn the switch on like that, and after about half an hour or so, you'll have hot water at the taps. If you don't have the mains plugged in, like I don't at the moment, but you do have the gas switched on, you can use it like this. So you just turn this dial here, you get your green light come on there. If it lights up, it will stay green. If it doesn't light up, you'll get a little red light as well. If it doesn't light up, all you have to do is switch it off, wait a few seconds, and try it again. All right. Also, if it doesn't light up, just make sure that you've got that vent off on the outside, that little cover. If you have the cover on the boiler, it just will not work. And if it does work, it's going to go bang. So make sure that you have that cover off. Also on that same point, and actually you've got a temperature dial in the middle of that one, 30 through to 70. But on that same point, the boiler in this particular vehicle has got this window sensor, just in case you ever get stuck. If you find that the boiler just will not work, you need to make sure that the window is closed, because this little sensor here is to stop the boiler being able to be used if the window is open. The reason for that is that the vent for the boiler is just here below the window. So if you had the window open and the boiler lit up, you'd have all of the nasty CO2 coming into the vehicle through there. So this little sensor here has to be closed off like it is now in order to allow the boiler to work. Okay, so if you ever had the window open and wondered why the boiler isn't working, that's the reason why. Okay, so I'm going to turn the boiler off for now, so I don't actually want any hot water. I'll leave the heater on for the minute. Right, so I'm just going to carry on to the sort of back of the vehicle now, because that's where the other appliances are. IH have always been sort of renowned for having all these sort of clever bits of worktop and ways of holding it all back. So you've got this little bit up here which covers off the sink area. You've then also got this other one here. So once you've got these down, you've got sort of extra worktop space and the window there as well. So the cooker lid has got the metal lining on it, so it's not going to damage any of the wood lining on that when you use this cooker. So the cooker itself is super simple. It's a SMEV system and it's all part of the same unit. Okay, so these 4 burners at the top and the oven and grill are all in the same one box. So that means that your ignition switch here works all 4 burners at the top and the oven and grill at the bottom. So the oven and grill, I don't tend to run through the burners at the top because it's literally that they've got a diagram telling you which one does what, but you just push it in and turn it whilst you press the ignition and that'll light it up. Same goes for the grill and oven really. I don't really tend to run through these very much because it's just literally push in and round to the right for the grill, push in and round to the left for the oven. So that is it. Super simple. The only thing I will point out is that you've got this little cover here. It's not so important on this one because you've not got any wooden bits up here for when you're using it. But if you've got this lid down, this wooden lid down, you should have this little grill cover out when you're using the grill to stop that wood from getting too hot. And there you go. That is the oven and grill. A couple of gas isolators down here. So these are for isolating individual appliances when you know, if you think you've got a gas leak somewhere, basically. So for example, you think it's from the fridge, you can isolate the fridge's gas supply from here and just sort of carry on with what you're doing and sort of forget about it, rather than having to isolate the whole thing from the bottle. So that is what that is there. There should be a diagram in the paperwork somewhere telling you which one does what. So speaking of the fridge itself is just here behind us. It's a Dometic electronic ignition fridge. So the electronic ignition side of things is to do with the gas. So I'm just trying to get to a better position there to show you. So all the stuff on the right hand side here of the fridge is to do with the gas, and everything on the left is to do with the electric. All right, so for the minute we're just going to focus on the right hand side, the gas side of the fridge. So inside the fridge you have actually got a little peephole in there. It's nearly always impossible to get it on the camera, but there is a little peephole there to show you where the gas flame is, and sort of so you can see into that. So to light this fridge up on gas couldn't be much easier, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it off so that I can show you it from scratch. All right, just going to move that a bit. Okay, so assuming that I've got the gas on in the locker and I want to light the gas up on the fridge, all I have to do is turn this little orange button on over here on the right. That is your ignition switch. Okay, so that's what it means by electronic ignition. You just turn the switch on and it starts the igniter. All you have to do from there is switch the gas valve round to on by doing this. You push in and round to the left. And you see straight away the igniter switch stops flashing and stops igniting, and that's because the gas flame has now lit up. So I'm going to hold that on there for a few seconds and I'm going to let go. As long as this switch here isn't flashing at you and isn't igniting, your gas flame is on. Okay. You've then got this little bit here, which is basically just a temperature sensor, if you like. So you just, if it's too cold, turn it down a bit. But that's how you light it up on the gas. So because you can't have your gas on all the time, you do have to use it in other ways as well. So if you've got the mains cable plugged in, you can use it from the mains, which is the green switch just there, and then you've got, again, sort of gauge here for that. So if you've got the hookup plugged in, I would just advise you use it on the mains. All right, if you don't have the mains plugged in, use it on the gas. And if you're setting off to drive to wherever you're going, you need to be having it here on the 12-volt switch, which is the red one. So the idea behind the red switch there is that obviously when you're driving the vehicle, you can't have the hookup plugged in, and you shouldn't have the gas on either. All right, so the only way to keep the fridge cold whilst you drive is to use the 12-volt switch, which basically gets powered through your split charger or your split relay. Okay, so that's for when you're driving only. So the way that works, again, try not to sort of bore you too much with all this sort of information, but you've got what's called a split charger. And what a split charger does is it basically, when you run the engine up, you've got the alternator under the bonnet that charges the engine battery. The split charger or the split relay takes some of that alternator power and sends it back to the leisure battery and to the fridge, so that all the time that you're driving, your leisure batteries are getting a good charge up and the fridge is getting a signal for the red switch to allow you to keep it cold whilst you drive. So that's how that works. Right, so again, we've got more sort of clever little bits of worktop all over the place. This little part down here pulls out, so you've got loads and loads of extra storage down here and also extra worktop along here as well. So absolutely stacks of worktop space. You've got another locker over the cab. All of the paperwork for the vehicle is in this brown box just here. And so I think the last bit to show you is going to be in the bathroom. So your full-sized standalone table is just here inside the bathroom, just there. You've got absolutely loads of storage in here. Try and ignore my tools that I've accidentally left in here. I'll take them out in a minute. So that's all of that in there. You've got your tilt and turn TV aerial from here, and your awning winder is here. This is the table leg here as well. So the table leg will basically go into the bottom of this table there, and then onto the floor inside this little point here. So you can have a nice big table just there. So the bathroom itself is really, really simple. You've got up here a hot and cold mixer tap, just like the one in the kitchen. You've then got your shower point from here, so that's got a little hot and cold mixer tap there as well, and the toilet itself. So the toilet itself is the bit that I'd actually generally run through, because sometimes people haven't used one of these ones before. So literally all you have to do, press this blue button if you want the flush fluid pumping around, and open it up with the handle. Alright, so pump that through. It's a little bit dirty, so I am going to empty that out and refill it. There you go. Get rid of all that. It's basically, all that is sort of stagnant water that's sat in there for a little while in the flush fluid. So I'll clean that out in a minute and get some new stuff in there for you. So that's how you use the toilet. Nice and easy. Where I'm stood is the sort of shower enclosure. So yeah, very simple. You've got a light switch up on the roof here as well. Oh, actually, I think that might be... No, ignore that. The light switch for the bathroom is here. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so I'm going to sort out this flush fluid situation. Just trying to check if there's anything else I've missed out. No. Okay, so this particular vehicle flew through the habitation check. Absolutely lovely. As I said, somebody's clearly looked after this, and you know, fingers crossed it won't give any issues to the next owner. So yeah, very, very clever layout, and IH have always been very, very good with their sort of design and their, you know, even just down to things like the thickness of the wood that you've got. It's all very, very solid, and yeah, there you go. So I think I've covered everything. If there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you want going over again, just let us know. And otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.